Hello there. So do you get nervous about sales conversations? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today on Joyful Business TV. We're going to talk about a fresh way to think about having a sales conversation in your business. And I can tell you this fresh perspective, it will help you be less nervous and way more confident. All right, so welcome to Joyful Business TV. I am Laura West. I'm the CEO of the Center for Joyful Business. I am a creative mindset and business success coach, author, speaker, and for over 20 years, I have been helping conscious entrepreneurs who want a different way to run their business, help them find a way that they can do the work that they love to do, make a big difference, getting their work out there, giving their gifts, and make great money while they're in the process. So I help people just like you find their voice and their creative power so they can really claim their message, claim your movement, and show up as a leader in your business in a whole different way and in a way that feels really good. So you don't feel like you are really authentic when you're doing your expertise and then all of a sudden you shift into marketing mode and you're somebody else. We want it to be authentic through and through all the way. And that's how you're going to create more meaning and impact and make even better money. All right. So on Joyful Business TV, we talk about all sorts of conscious business strategies and marketing strategies that you're going to get yourself aligned with and that you're actually going to want to love to do. We're going to share ideas for how to grow your business, how to bring your passion and purpose into your business, what gets in the way of that, and also how do you make money doing the work you love, like we've been talking about here. So if you're here live, the way the format works is we have 30 minutes of conversation with where I'll be talking about our topic for today. And then the next 30 minutes, we'll open it up for you. So I'll be here to answer your questions, to have rich conversations about what we've been talking about today, or any other things that are going on in your business. So let's talk about this new way to look at sales conversations. I call it elegant enrollment. I don't even call it sales conversations. I call it elegant enrollment. This is part of what I teach, is how to enroll clients into your programs, your products, your services, into working with you in a way that is that it feels like it's easy, effortless, and and you have lots of confidence doing it. So here's the fact, is that in order to grow your business, you need to have sales conversations. All right. That's how you grow your business. Having conversations is how you connect to people who are potential clients, who have opportunities to share with you. That's how you grow. So there's no way to get around it. Now, you can sell your products online, but even with that, you still need to have sales conversations just on a sales page through a written format. So what we're going to talk about today is actually how to have verbal one-on-one sales conversations, and hopefully to help shift the way that you look at things. So first of all, I want to name some of the most common things that get in the way in your sales conversations, that get in your way of feeling comfortable and getting excited about talking to a potential client. So the first one, the most obvious one, is fear of rejection, right? You're really afraid they're going to say, no, I don't want it, right? So just notice here that when you're feeling that fear of rejection, you're other focused, right? You're not grounded inside. And so one of the things you want to do before any sales conversation is make sure you know grounding techniques and use them, not just know them, but use them. Really get yourself grounded. If there's any materials that you need that'll help make you more comfortable, that you can reach out to, what your program is about, questions that you might want to ask. I give my clients a process that they can follow to go through the elegant enrollment process. So you want to get really grounded in your energy, and then you want to be grounded in your value. So even spending a couple of minutes before you have a conversation with someone, and just remember a time when you had success. All right, when it was easy, when it was fun, when it was really easy to get a client, and they just love the idea of working with you. And just the more you can practice that and get that into your body, the more you're going to be anchored in that place, right? And then again, it's bringing it not so far, the energy, your attention is not all the way on other people. It's more grounded in your body. All right. So the next thing that gets in the way of getting excited about sales conversations, there's the fear of rejection. And then there's that actual fear of disappointment, right? We actually are so afraid that we're going to let ourselves down. And we don't like that feeling of shame, of embarrassment. Maybe you might feel some humiliation. Those are different variations of feeling this deep sense of disappointment. That's where you're too internally focused, right? So we just talked about one where you're externally focused. This is where you're really internally focused. So you want to look at that fear of disappointment and to be able to work through that so that you can get more comfortable. Again, the grounding, visualizing success and really anchoring that into your body, and to know that you're going to be okay. There's also, here's where you really want to come back to that belief and remember that it's a conversation, all right? They're not talking about your value as a human being, okay? And if you've been doing conscious marketing, right? If you've been putting yourself out there, then you're having a conversation, chances are that person already knows, likes, and at least knows and likes you, and is on their way to developing some trust with you, right? Chances are you're not having sales conversations that are cold calls. All right. I used to do cold calls way back in the day. Too many decades to remember now, but where I sold newspaper advertising. And you literally did go into a business you've never been into before, walk in the door physically, ask for the owner, and they're already looking at you like, yeah, Miss Salesperson. And then they come out and it was already kind of this adversarial position. Well, that's not what that's not what you're going into. You're not working with somebody who's in a cold call, you're not in a cold call situation. They probably already read your articles, or they saw you on a podcast, they heard you speak, right? So they're already in the warm category, right? There's already a connection. So then you can remind yourself of that so that you can let go of some of that intense fear, right? The third thing that gets in the way is that doubt, like, I'm not a good salesperson. Well, if you're approaching a call from, I have to convince them, and the only way this call is going to be successful is if I get a sale right here, right now, then you are going to be really disappointed. Then you are going to, that really sets yourself up for disappointment, right? So what you want to do with that is to really, you want to get clear about your expectations. Right? Not every call is meant to be a sales call. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. There's a lot of different types of calls. There's actually 5 different types of calls, and we're going to talk about that. So you want to make sure that your expectations are realistic. You want to think about that you're actually working with people over a lifetime. And I know you need to make money now, right? But if you are desperate to make money right this minute, it is harder to attract a client because they can, even over the phone, they can over Zoom, they can smell desperation, right? They can feel that energy. So you really want to get yourself into a place where you are open to whatever is going to happen on this call, and you are aligned with the value that you provide. You're aligned with your confidence in that you can help this client, and setting the expectation that you're going to have a great conversation and that something amazing is going to come from this. And that amazing could be a lot of different things, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. The other thing that tends to get in the way is that you have this fear of feeling too salesy, right? So I would say the vast majority of us, we tend to, especially if you're on the sensitive, creative, spiritual spectrum, so to speak, in your business, you tend to go too far the other way. Instead of being confident and standing up, you actually go the other way and you let go too much. And you wait for someone to call you if they want their services. That's a really common one. Like, well, I'll just wait. They know what I do. Most people don't make the connection of what you do and how you can help them. You actually have to make that connection for them. The other thing is that you get afraid of that because you're feeling so, you're so worried about being salesy that you sit back and wait Or you half sell, like you um, tell people about your program, and then all of a sudden you're like, you, instead of crossing the bridge into the invitation, you don't cross that bridge and you just say, okay, well, let me know if you're interested and just give me a call back anytime. I'm here. I'm so flexible. I'm here all the time, just waiting for you, right? And that doesn't give people a sense of confidence that you have a process, that you really want them as a client. People actually want to be claimed. And it's kind of funny, not in that aggressive, old style car lot salesperson. Even car salespeople don't sell like that anymore, right? They're like, let's deliver it to your home, pick it out online, right? They're all about collaboration, right? And conversation and connection. And that's what you want to do in your sales calls. And then the last thing I just want to mention is that we get afraid that like we're going to sell our soul, that somehow we're going to have to be somebody that we're not. And I used to have that a lot because I was told back in the newspaper advertising days, I did really well until this one particular manager came in and she told me that I sucked as a salesperson. And so because I didn't sell somebody this really grand thing that they had did last year and that they should do it again. And, that was comparing myself to something that I'm not. As an authentic, genuine person, I know that I'm here to help people. And so part of that process is having a conversation to figure out, how can I help you? Just like when you go into a store and people genuinely want to help you, you can always tell the difference. And someone's just saying it by rote or somebody's really showing up saying, how can I help you? And that's what you want to do in your sales conversations, is really get in there and figure out what's going on for that person so that you can help them. And ideally you have gifts that you can share and you'll make recommendations on how you can help them. All right. It's a whole different way to approach sales. All right. The old style sales is like this adversarial of, if you're a really good salesperson, you will convince them and you'll wrestle them into signing up and giving you their charge card. That's just not how it's done in most places, right? And that's not how we want to be treated, right? I know you don't want to be treated like that. So why would you think that you should treat somebody else like that? So you really want to adopt more of a conscious marketing approach. And you can do this with your sales. So again, treat people like you want to be treated, right? If somebody says, hey, I'm kind of interested in talking to you about your program, or they sign up for consultation, think through that process and say, how would I like to be treated, right? I want to know that the person that I'm talking to in a sales conversation is going to be excited about talking to me, that they're genuinely going to be interested in me, and make sure that comes across in your process. And another approach, or another way to bring in the conscious marketing approach in your sales conversation, is look at what can you do to instill trust and confidence. So some of those things are really little things, but they're things that make a big impact. So things like having a calendar where people can automatically go and sign up because you have a professional system, right? That actually instills confidence, like, oh, she does these consultations all the time. And if you go to the calendar and there's no space, there's nowhere on the calendar to sign up, like they haven't filled in their times for the month yet, their availability, then you kind of feel like, well, gosh, why did I do this? And maybe she's not really that serious about her business. So you want to look at those little things. So somebody signs up on their calendar and then they get an automatic email, and then you have reminders sent. You give them a questionnaire. There's a whole process that you can go through, but each of these things, each of these touch points instill professionalism, confidence, trust, and is building the relationship ahead of time before you actually ever get to the call. All right. And then part of the fresh approach to a sales conversation is also thinking about it, that you are helping them make a decision and you're helping them work through the process. So it's not you're helping, you're trying to make a sale. It's you're finding out what their situation is. Where do they want to be? What's getting in the way? How can you help them make a decision? That means you have conversations about the objections. We'll talk about this that deeper on another show. And then you help them work through it, right? That's the key. to the conscious marketing approach is that you help them work through those objections, help them work through what it is that they're thinking about. And then you give them a really true reason, like, why do they need to decide now? Now, it doesn't always have to be now, right here on the phone with you. It can be now, like, why do they want to start working with you at this point in time in their life or in their business? And so you want to give them reasons why they should act now. So again, that's part of the whole elegant enrollment process that I talk about in greater detail when I work with clients one-on-one, or when I have a program called Elegant Enrollment that you can go way into more detail about the actual process. But what I want to share with you today is that idea that it's not, every call is not a sales call, a sales conversation. There's actually 5 different types of calls. And so I want to share those with you. The first type of call is a get to know you call, where you just get to know each other. And so often there is this pressure that if you were a really good salesperson, you would convert them instantly into a client, and that every call is supposed to be like that. Like, we know in our heart of hearts that that's not true, but somehow we have this unspoken expectation or unspoken assumption that that's the case. And so when I'm just getting to know somebody, I like to make it really clear, like, let's just get to know each other and see what you're up to, what I'm up to, and how we might be able to support each other. That's a get to know you call. And sometimes you need to have those calls ahead of time, because you don't know if you are the answer, the solution to somebody's problem. It might be you, or it might be somebody else. So get to know you calls are really important, because they're important to the growth of your business, because you never know when you're talking to somebody, and it might be they're totally not a client, but maybe they work with a whole bunch of potential people who could be your clients, right? Maybe they have an office full of people who need your particular type of training or facilitation. Maybe they are a part of a summit and they want to invite you to a summit, or they have a podcast, or they can make an introduction to someone who has a resource or a tool or some sort of support that you need. So there's so much that can come out of a get to know you call. And when you approach it with a generosity of spirit mindset, and a generosity of spirit mindset is really being generous with, how can I help you? Like the genuine, how can I help you, right? How can I give? And just trusting and knowing that you will receive in all sorts of ways, that maybe you give them something, they give you something right back, and you get to receive that. Or it might be that you give and then you never know what's going to happen. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients who have done a program that I offer called Fun and Fabulous Follow-Up, where they reach out to 3 people a day just to touch base with them. That energy of reaching out, following up, and reaching out to people activates the energy of clients coming to them out of nowhere, or past clients coming to them. So get to know each other calls are a really important part of this process. The second type of call is a connection call. And a connection call is when you know somebody already, and it's sort of like a get to know you call, but I already know you, but I don't know what you're up to right now. And so having that connection call is where you just, you might reconnect with someone like a colleague that you haven't talked to in a while, or a past client, and just ask them how they're doing, what's going on, what's new in their world, where are they at with what you last talked about. If you're talking to colleagues, you just see what's new in their world, share what's new in yours. And then again, with that generosity of spirit, or that spirit of generosity, is how can I help you? Do I know a resource? Is there somebody I can connect you with? Is there a great book I can recommend, or a great podcast, or something like that? So that connection call. And again, you never know where these connection calls are going to go. And I just trust that, if nothing else, if the worst thing that came out of it was like you inspired each other, right? Wouldn't that be priceless? Because we all need inspirational energy. We all need to feel good and feel inspired. And you never know when they are ready to become a client. I've had connection calls with colleagues before where unexpectedly they were like, wow, I need what you have. Let's talk about this. And I ended up getting a client just from that, or I got referrals, or I got an invitation to a podcast. So you never know what can come. Now, another type of call, the third type of call, is an invitation call. And that is where you are inviting someone, again, somebody warm, right, that you already have a connection to talk about something specific. So maybe you have a new mastermind program that's coming up, and you think that this one person would be ideal for that. And so you reach out to her and say, hey, would you like to have a conversation? I would love to catch up. And I would love to make sure that you know about my new mastermind program that's coming up. And let's just see if it might be a good fit for you right now. And again, you're inviting them to a call about a particular conversation. I have a new retreat coming up. I'd love for us to catch up, hear what you're up to, and and tell you about my retreat and see if it's a good fit for you right now. See if it's something you might be interested in. Now, sometimes people are going to say no, they're not interested ahead of time. That's okay. You just keep practicing inviting, because you never know when they are ready. I've had lots of times where I've reached out to someone and they're right in the middle of a big coaching program right now. And so they didn't want to be in one of my programs because they were in somebody else's program at the time. But then what happened is, because I would just reach out periodically and say, hey, here's something I have going on, that when they were ready, they called me and said, okay, now I'm ready for you. And this is really important, because so often we'll have conversations and we get the, no, I'm in another program, or no, I'm going through a divorce, I'm moving to Italy, or I'm, renovating my house. Like, we get all sorts of reasons why people genuinely, it's not the right time for them to work with you. But the thing is, in reaching out, it's like you planted the seed, right? And they started imagining what it would be like to work with you. And then you'll plant another seed because you'll reach out again. And then eventually it's going to be the right timing, or they're going to be ready for that conversation. And then you'll practice in the conversation, the actual elegant enrollment process. All right. So the next type of call is a referral call. All right. And a referral call is where you are specifically getting to know each other, and you're asking for, and that they are, you're pretty sure that they're not your ideal client, right? They're not what I call your best client ever, but they know a lot of people, right? There's a lot of connectors out there who love to connect people and refer people. And so having a very specific referral call, when letting them know about your business, about your process, about your signature work, what do you do for people, who's your ideal client, and sometimes you're doing it for each other so that you can refer to each other. Sometimes it's just going one way, where you're educating them about who good referrals are. Because you want good referrals. You don't just want somebody coming to you like, oh, I heard you're a business coach and here's a plumber, and so yeah, you guys should talk, just because he needs to grow his sales. Like, if that's a fit, great. If it's not a right fit, then you need to educate your referral partners about how to, who's a great referral for you. Then they're going to know, then that person who comes to you is truly going to be more of a warmer connection. All right. The next one is an actual sales conversation, right? Where you're going to have a strategy or a consultation. Maybe they've signed up through your website. Maybe you were speaking at an event and they signed up for consultation, or maybe they just found you through the Google ethers, right? And you actually have a consultation. So again, out of all of those, only 2 of those were really sales conversations, where you're specifically inviting them to talk about a program or an opportunity, and then the actual strategy or sales conversation. The other ones are different types of conversations. So not everything has to lead to a sales conversation. So it's really helpful to figure out what type of conversation is this, so that you can get relaxed and you're prepared. If you're having a sales conversation, then you're going to want to have materials near, you want to have like the features of the program, what the benefits of the program are, your payment plans. You want to have all of that available to be able to share with them and then send them the information afterwards. One of the things that really helps, I want to share this with you. One of the things that really helps with having sales conversations, and when you're actually having a consultation or an invitation call, is that pre-enrollment period. And that pre-enrollment period is knowing that when they are on your list, or they are in your Facebook group, or they are hearing you speak, or you're a sponsor at a group, or maybe you're at a networking event together, they heard you on a podcast being interviewed. That is all pre-enrollment. Okay. They are getting to know and like, and hopefully building up some trust with you. All of those things that you do, help build your visibility, your credibility, and it positions you as a leader and an expert. But what it also does is it turns that person from somebody who knows nothing about you to somebody who knows something about you and they're really curious. So that is really, that's the importance of having that consistent marketing, right? Where you're sharing your message and you're educating, inspiring, and then inviting people to have conversations with you. I think so often people think like the sales starts right in the the actual phone call or the Zoom call, but that's not true. The sales process started a long time ago, right? When they first heard about you and they started seeing you show up with your message. They're seeing your, they're really getting in your energy and your presence, and they're getting attracted by that. Maybe they got on your newsletter list, and so they had a process where they were seeing that you're consistent and you have consistent messages, and so you look professional, you look like an expert in your area, you're a leader. So just know that that is a huge opportunity for the pre-enrollment. So then by the time they get on the call with you, they're actually like, they're already interested. That's what happens for me. I rarely get on a call these days with people who are like, now, what do you do? What's your deal? They usually have found out about me through different ways, and lots of times binged or stalked, depends on what you want to call it, different ways, on different material. That's why it's so important to do content marketing these days, because people get a sense of you. So by the time they come to the call, your sales calls it truly is an elegant enrollment process. All right. So let's talk about, one of the things I want to talk about before we wrap up today is I just want to mention objections. And we'll talk about this in a lot more detail on future calls. But you want to, when you know you're going to have a sales call or an enrollment conversation, you want to go ahead and write out the common objections that you anticipate could happen, right? And, the 4 top ones are money, time, I don't have the time, the effort or energy it's going to take. And another objection can be, we'll have to talk to my partner. And I don't always look at that as an objection. I look at that as, I always reinforce. If they need to talk to their partner, they're going to need to talk to their partner. And I always reinforce that as a natural part of the process. So that's what I do. So what I just did with that is I made it right. And I already know what my response is to that objection. So for anytime you're going to have a sales conversation, you want to know, what are your responses? If they say, I don't have enough money, what's your response? Well, I take credit cards. Well, you can have some creative financing. There's different ways to invest, different payment plans. The time, the effort, all of those things can be addressed. If they're bringing that up, they haven't said no yet. They haven't said no yet. That means they're interested. And what it also means is they're moving things around in their head. They're like, do I have time? I'm going on that trip, on that big boat trip down the Nile. Do I have time for this program in the middle of that? And those are things for you to talk about and get them to share so that you can help them move the chess pieces around. So I always look at objections as really good things. All right, so we've talked about all sorts of good things today for how to give you a different, fresh perspective on sales conversations. I teach a whole process called Elegant Enrollment. So make sure that you come over to joyfulbusiness.com so that you can get on my list. You can get all sorts of goodness over there. You can get more resources over there. And then you'll find out the next time that I do the Elegant Enrollment process course. Thank you for watching today. Please go over to joyfulbusiness.com and check that out. If you like, you can also go over to our Facebook group, which is a Joyful Business Community. Just search for Joyful Business Community and join that group, because there's a whole lot of hundreds of people in there who are joyful entrepreneurs, and they are excited about this conscious marketing approach. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you on another episode. Thank you for watching this episode of Joyful Business TV. I want to invite you to get more creative strategies and support for growing your business. You can start right now by activating your abundance mindset with a really powerful creative visualization that will help you get into the universal abundance current, one of my favorite things to do. And you'll also get a companion 7-day journal that will help you create a daily habit of co-creating with the universe. These are two powerful resources that you can get started right now to help grow your business and activate that abundant mindset. You just go over to activateabundancegift.com.